Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to keep this kind of short today. Uh, I've got some things going on as far as health wise. Not that I'm sick or anything, I'm not sick. But I went to my orthopedist uh, a couple days ago because I've been having problems with my hip, and he referred me to another surgeon that actually specializes just particularly in the hip. And so I get to go see them tomorrow. So I may be out of commission for a couple of months, and that's not the announcement that I wanted to make, by the way. But I did want to make that known. So if you don't see me live for a while, that's what's been going on. Um, so I know it's been a couple of weeks, uh, but I've had sick kids here at the house. I've been sick myself. Uh, my wife was sick also, and then over the weekend we had my other daughter here with my granddaughter, and we enjoyed having them here. It was a fun weekend to say the least. Uh, we took my daughter and granddaughter to well, my other kids to the Tippecanoe Mall in Lafayette. Walked around for a little bit, um, and and then took them out to eat. And I had to get another door because I had a female going to heat, and two of my males broke my door in half that led out to the garage from the breezeway. So, what fun! What fun! So, it's been a pretty busy couple of weeks. So, let's go through the chat here. Let's see who's in here. So, we've got Amy Niana, Joe Carroll Dodds, Auntie Honey, Cheshire's Insight, Parkside, Awaken Trillium, Echo, Sherry Tackett, John Mack, Lisa Anderson, Marla B, Proud Army Mom, Georgia Pappas, let's see here, Janice R, Brian Platt or Plot, uh, let's see, and it looks like that's all I have in here now. There's other viewers in here, but they have not uh, put anything in the chat. SM, hello, Tennessee Ridge Runner. It is good to see everybody again. Thank you for tuning in. We are going to go over a few things, and then I'm going to slip a small announcement in there uh, a little bit later. I may just wait until the end, just to keep you guys interested and tuned in. Who knows? So, Brian, yeah, that's been happening for years. It's not something new. As a matter of fact, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all of the major players that control about 95% of the business globally. Uh, they've got their fingers in everything. It's amazing how nobody has looked further into it. Um, and I think they're breaking all sorts of monopoly laws myself, but then again, they may be able to skirt it because they're owned by several different entities, and they all come back to the same people. So yeah, let me pull up the tube on my phone so that way I can keep up with everybody here. Um, oh, come on. Open it up. Come on. You know you want to. Come on. Open up. Open up. There we go. All right. So, you know you want to. Come on. So, it's been one thing right after the other as far as news coming out. And we're going to see a lot more, folks, over the oncoming weeks. And I have a feeling that by the time it's all said and done, people will be coming to us. Well, why didn't you tell us? Well, we tried to tell you. You just weren't ready to listen yet. Kind of thing. So I got to check Rumble, make sure that it is up on Rumble. I finally was able to get Rumble to work. I contacted them, and they said that Rumble was down most of the morning. So, and we're good. So I was able to finally get it going. More folks have come into the chat. So let me go over that real quick. I'm kind of prolonging everything until we get, a few more people in. Because then, they don't get lost in the sauce. So we have, let's see, David DeGeorge, Pappy Two Bears, Tennessee, SM, go down here, Damon Austin, Angel Rose, Navy Vet, good to see you, Navy, Vicky Sorrells, and I think that's it. So we got about 62 people in here, so we can go ahead and get started here. So if you guys haven't been following the Al Green situation, they voted to continue with the censure yesterday, and today was the actual censure, to which 10 Democrats sided with the Republicans for the censure. I mean, it was, to even see something like that is just amazing, because I remember when they censured, oh hell, who was it? Damn, I can't remember. I think it was Tlaib, maybe. None of the Democrats voted for it, but now 10 Democrats voted in favor of censuring Al Green. But then again, he was acting like an ass. So it's one of those things, because and then when he did an interview of why he was doing that, he kept spouting the same rhetoric that is a big talking point, amongst the Democrats, and that is that Trump was trying to cut Medicaid. He's trying to cut Social Security. And that is not the case whatsoever. He's trying to cut the fraud, waste, and abuse that's taking place of people utilizing those programs. So it's one of those things, when you have people that are 300 years old, and I'm not exaggerating, because that was one of the age categories of people that are drawing off of Social Security alone. Where's that money going? Because there's nobody that's 300 years old. I mean, for God's sake, I think the oldest person ever recorded was 127, and that was in a totally different country. So I mean, it's one of those things. So we got some more folks that came in. We got Bubba Morris, Vance Pope, Turning Guns, Dragonfly Boom over on Rumble. Good to see you. Let's see here. Lisa, Bama by the Bay, Sherry K67, MRI Girl, Vance Pope, Echo, make sure, Viola Trip. So, all right, now I'll actually get going here. I think I've prolonged it enough. So here we go. Let me pull this up here. And anything that I share with you as far as websites and stuff like that, I try to drop it in the chat. So if you see something that I don't drop, let me know, and I'll go back and I'll drop it. So let's go ahead and pull this up. And here we go.
Let's go ahead and show the count now on the censure vote in the House. It's happening right now, real-time vote. A couple things to look at. The yeas are 213 Republican, Democrats, 9 Democrats voting with Republicans to get you to 222. We thought the magic number was 217, depending on how many people were present. And at the moment, we believe the censure will succeed. Aisha Hasni's watching that from the Hill as well. Aisha?
Yeah, we have somebody inside the chamber right now trying to figure out who those 9 Democrats are. That's a big one because we were told earlier that the Democratic whip, Catherine Clark, did not advise her members on how to vote today. So we are seeing some yays and some present votes as well. Interestingly enough, Congressman Green himself voted present yesterday when they tried to delay this resolution, they tried to table the resolution. So we'll see how he voted today. But we are waiting now for Speaker Johnson, who is presiding over this vote, to gavel this vote for passage. And then what will happen next, what you'll see is that he will call Congressman Green to the well. Oh, there we go. Let's listen in.
To answering present. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. Shh. Will Representative Green present himself to the well? By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. What's that?
You want to let them keep doing this, or it's over there?
The House will come to order. Clear the well, please. Clear the well. The House has to continue its business.
And if you think there are recess, you can do that too.
Just say the House is in recess. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the House will stand in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Got it. Okay, guys, here we go now.
Is Aisha still with us?
Yeah, that passes. Aisha, you're still with us. I was looking at Jabal Bowman about 2 years ago. He was the last member of Congress who was censured. And he was the one who pulled the fire alarm. Go ahead.
I just want to jump in really quickly because what was supposed to happen, so what's happening right now is we're trying to get order in the chamber, because what you're supposed to see next is Speaker Johnson admonish Congressman Green, and that hasn't happened yet. And what Democrats are doing right now is they're disrupting the chamber floor, and they're singing and they're surrounding him in the well, which they're not supposed to do. So I believe Speaker Johnson is trying to get a hold of this. Let's listen in now, because I think this is happening now where he's admonishing him. No, it looks like the House is in recess now. So we're going to try to figure out what just happened there, if they can, if they're going to come back and try to do this. But the censure resolution did pass. They were able to censure him. And yes, you were talking about Jabal Bowman. This is now the 4th Democrat in probably the last 2 years here. I'm going to see if Congressman Scalise, what just happened in there? Were you able to admonish? Were you able to admonish him? Okay, so that was Steve Scalise, and he said that they have censured him, and so it looks like that is it, and they might be done for the day. But 4th Democrat now in the last 2 years to be censured by House Republicans.
So Aisha, you are by the rules required to stand in the well of the House and be issued your condemnation.
Right.
Did that happen, or did we miss it?
I didn't see that happen. I didn't hear that happen. I just started hearing the Democrats singing and sort of like creating a disruption around Congressman Green. So we'll try to find out from one of our producers who was in the chamber. But an interesting note, Bill, here is that at least 9 Democrats voted along with Republicans here to censure Congressman Green, and there were a few others that voted present as well. So that's an interesting takeaway too. Obviously, there were plenty of some Democrats that felt that what he did just wasn't right.
No.
Aisha, so there's a lot of reporting with Democrats not going on the record, but talking to reporters like you saying they were mortified about what happened on Tuesday. They felt they had no direction from their leadership, which would be Hakeem Jeffries. They're frustrated. They're embarrassed. They're worried. And is it at some point, do you think any of them will be willing to go on the record? Because to me, I don't see how they get out of the wilderness until they have somebody willing to say enough.
Well, I would imagine the Democratic leadership was not too happy with what happened Tuesday night. I mean, they were hoping that there wouldn't be any outbursts. I mean, they were advising people, obviously, attend if you want. We'd like everybody to be there. We'd like to show unity in the Democratic conference. We won't force you to come and attend. Several people, obviously, we saw leave in the middle of the president's speech, but I don't believe leadership wanted to see this kind of an outburst, because here's the thing. What happens is that nobody talks about their messaging anymore. Everybody just starts talking about Congressman Green and all the showiness of what Democrats were doing. And it is embarrassing. There were plenty of members before this joint address that were saying they were hoping that there wouldn't be any outbursts, that there wouldn't be any showmanship. And that, obviously they would protest in their own way silently, whether it was by holding up those, paddles in protest. But there were plenty of Democrats that did not want to see what happened go down. But none of the Democratic leaders in there, Hakeem Jeffries, Catherine Clark, Pete Aguilar, they just sat there quietly. They were about 10 feet away from the guy, and they didn't do anything to get him to sit down.
Nobody was really defending him. So, okay, thank you so much, Aisha.
So, needless to say, the things that happened not only on Tuesday night, but also today with the censuring, where they were supposed to actually read the actual censure, has been interrupted at every point. Now, the Democrats that voted in favor of the censure is actually listed here in the article. Now, there was some dissension also in the House just before the vote, from what I understand, where Ayanna Pressley engaged in a heated exchange with Republicans, including first-term Ryan McKenzie out of Pennsylvania. So that's interesting. And then the 10 Democrats who voted to censure Al Green are Representatives Ami Bera out of California, Ed Case out of Hawaii, Jim Costa out of California, Laura Gillen out of New York, Jim Himes out of Connecticut, Chrissy Houlihan, Pennsylvania, Marcy Kaptur out of Ohio, Jared Moskowitz out of Florida, Marie Glusenkamp Perez out of Washington, and Tom Suozzi out of New York. So, I mean, that's wow. And like I said, I am going to go ahead and drop this in to the chat here, so that way you guys can have it here. But I thought that was really interesting. As soon as I found out that there was Democrats that voted in favor of the censure, it kind of took me by surprise. And I started to hunt for who actually did. So there we go, which is really interesting in itself. So let's see here. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to go over a few things here as far as, the different things that have been going on. So now, does everybody remember, what was it, about a month ago, maybe two, when Johnson out of Chicago, the mayor, where he was hosting town hall meetings, getting mad because he was getting called out at every turn. And he would actually shut the meeting down and walk out because he didn't like what was being said in there, because he was getting called out at every turn. So it's not surprising that he was sitting, in the hot seat yesterday, along with Eric Adams, the mayor of Denver, and Wu out of Boston, taking heat for what's been going on. So it's not really surprising. And for those of you that didn't know, before I get into this last Friday, I attended a Republican dinner here in Cass County. And one of the people that spoke there was the Lieutenant Governor, Micah Beckwith. And I actually met him. I had my picture taken with him and all that good stuff. And the other guy that was there was Jim Baird, Congressman Baird. And I guess he is going to be retiring after this term. And I met the guy that is running to take his spot. And it really good guy. As a matter of fact, he gave me his phone number so that way if I needed to get a hold of him, I could. So back to where we're at now. So it's not surprising, with the hot seat yesterday. I know a lot of people seen this, and I'm going to go over it here in a minute about some of the horse shit, if you will, that was coming out yesterday, and they were skewing statistics and a whole lot of other stuff. They were introducing talking points. And the talking points would have no context to them. So it was just more like an argumentative session, of this versus that. And there was no real clear, concise thing until Anna Paulina Luna, and also, what's his name from Louisiana? Oh, hell, he used to be a cop. Maybe one of you guys can remember his name, because I never can. Was talking about possible charges. So let's go ahead and pull this up.
To me, after this line of questioning, it's very clear that these policies that you have all implicated are active and alive and well in your cities, are in direct violation with U.S. Title 8, Code subsection 1324, and is a federal offense. But you all speak about a broken immigration system, and yet here you guys are aiding and abetting in that entire process. I want to be very clear about something. Open border, something that you guys are talking about, hurts people on both sides, meaning the people that are coming here illegally and then American citizens as well. I do not think you guys are bad people, but I think that you are ideologically misled, which is why, unfortunately, based on your responses, I'm all going to be criminally referring you to the Department of Justice for investigation. And as soon as I leave here, these will be going over to Pam Bondi. I'm not doing that in an effort to bully you guys, but I do believe that your policies are hurting the American people, and you can make that known with the evidence that you can present to the Department of Justice. But if you guys continue doing what you're doing, you're not going to help anyone. You're going to hurt more people. And that's exactly why I'm tired of it. The American people are tired of it. And Chairman, I yield my time.
So it's interesting, she's referring people over for charges, which is a step in the right direction. But at the same time, it's going to be up to the Department of Justice to actually investigate and file the charges as they see fit. It's one of those things that we need to keep an eye on what's going on, because they're not the only mayors
To me,
that's
after
participated
this line of questioning, it's very
in all of this crap. There's other mayors out there too. They just happen to be the ones that are in the hot seat because they're always in the news. So I just want to make that known. As a matter of fact, let me go here. Let me go to my profile here. Right here. So here's another example of it, right? Another sanctuary jurisdiction has been eliminated from Indiana, in a huge win for Hoosier taxpayers. The state and rule of law, Lake County Sheriff's Department has reversed course and is now cooperating with ICE officials. So, it was happening everywhere. Like I said, it was just those particular cities that were in the hot seat because they're the ones that's always in the news. I mean, we had Denver, and there was a big influx at Tren de Aragua. And then there was New York. New York is always in the news about something. Chicago, which I told you about earlier, the people calling out the mayor at the town hall meeting. And then we had Boston, which you have a mayor of Boston that would sit there and go out and run her mouth with absolutely, sometimes I think some of these politicians are brain dead. But, this is a perfect example of it, so I'm going to drop this in the chat here so everybody can see it. Like I said, it's not just those cities that were in the hot seat. It's every city that city or county that considers themselves a sanctuary county or sanctuary city. Now, also, South Bend, St. Joe County, Indiana, Todd Rokita had actually filed lawsuit against them because of the same thing. So it's going to be interesting to find out. Now, I haven't heard a disposition on that case yet, but I have a feeling that there's going to be some heads rolling pretty soon as far as that's concerned. So in the other one here, let me see. Let's see. I got to find it. We'll go over this in a little bit. It was great. So, and then Virginia Fox, this came out from Gunther Engelman. Virginia Fox just forced every last mayor at the hearing to admit just how much they'd spent on illegal aliens over the last 4 years. Chicago, $574.5 million. Now, he did not give a specific number. Okay. He just said it was approximately, I think it was 10% of their city budget. All right. Denver, 79 million. New York City, 6.9 billion with a B. Boston doesn't ask whether someone has citizenship status, so their numbers are a mystery, even to Mayor Wu. And, you would think, going into a hearing like that, they would have those numbers readily available because that's going to be one of the topics. I mean, hello, use your freaking brain. And imagine what that money could have done for Americans that live in those cities. Democrats put Americans as second tier in their own country. It's disgraceful. So let's have a listen to this. I think it's great, this happened, but yeah.
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair recognizes Dr. Fox from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Johnson, in the last 4 years, how much has Chicago spent on care for illegal aliens?
Thank you for that question, Congresswoman. So since 2022, since the governor of Texas began
Just
shipping.
tell me a number. I don't need a speech. Just tell me a number.
So since 2022, since the governor of Texas was shipping individuals to cities across this country, the city's budget, roughly 1% of the city's budget over the course of 4 years.
Mayor Johnston, the same question, and I don't need a speech, just a number.
Thank you, Dr. Congresswoman. Thank you, Congresswoman. It's 79 million over the last 2.5 years.
Mayor Adams, same question. How much has New York spent to care for illegal aliens?
Approximately $6.9 billion went out of our taxpayers' funds.
Mayor Wu, same question. How much has Boston spent to care for illegal aliens in the last 4 years?
We do not ask about immigration status and giving city services and providing that access, so we do not have a number.
Taxpayers been bearing the brunt of the massive wave of illegal aliens who've entered the United States. The Biden administration seemingly declared taxpayers and hardworking Americans collateral damage in the pursuit of open borders. Again, Mayor Johnson, are NGOs providing services to illegal aliens in Chicago?
In accordance with the Welcoming City Ordinance, our sister agencies or city departments, we do not seek the status of any individual that is seeking service.
Mayor Johnston, are NGOs providing services to illegal aliens in Denver?
Thank you, ma'am. When folks arrive on the streets without food or resources or shelter, we do provide food or shelter regardless of where folks arrive from.
Mayor Adams, same question.
Yes, in combination of city agencies and nonprofits, we responded to the migrant asylum seekers humanitarian crisis that hit our city.
And Mayor Wu, I assume you don't know their status, but do you know if there are NGOs are providing services to people arriving in your city without any kind of documentation?
There are community organizations, many of them in Boston, who seek to serve all of our Boston residents.
Congress must provide oversight and ensure.
So, I mean, and if you watched yesterday, that was a recurring theme, you know, with Mayor Johnson out of Chicago. For one thing, he would call it a welcoming city, which is a play on words because the policy reflects sanctuary city, but he calls it a welcoming city, welcoming everybody in. Which because a sanctuary city is illegal, right? I mean, it's just illegal by law. They can't do that. So they call it a welcoming city to kind of try to skirt the rules. But in the actuality, what they call welcoming city is really just a sanctuary city. And then when he would say the bus loads coming in from Texas, right? Well, it wasn't only bus loads that Texas, you know, would do. They were just calling out the bus load because it was an inconvenient scapegoat. But in reality, there were flights coming in from different countries. There were buses coming in from both from Texas and Florida. And then plus of everybody that was released, they would find some mode of transportation, whether they would buy a car or they would hitchhike or they would already have, you know, a car or steal a car or whatever. They would get to all these places. So it wasn't just the buses coming from Texas or Florida. It wasn't just that. Those are just talking points that they wanted to emphasize because, oh my God, all these people came in on buses from Texas and it just inundated us. I'm sorry. No. If I recall, there was only maybe 120 buses that I can remember hearing about going to different cities from Texas that was paid for by the Texas government. And I'm sorry, 120 buses that went to different cities doesn't account for the influx that they had. So, you know, their statistics were definitely skewed. And yeah, in turning guns, that's 100% right. Churches, they were another mode of transportation, you know, arranging different things. So it wasn't just the governor of Texas, the governor of Florida. I mean, it's ridiculous. It was all to push a narrative to try and skew the facts and contort what actually happened. Now, I'm going to say this. Let me pull it up here. I sent this to Hawk, and I actually tagged Lauren Boebert in this. So, well, now, the hearing with the mayors today is continuing to prove my point with statistics. When a population increases, it will skew the statistical numbers with different things like crime, homelessness, and impact of economic function. For example, let's use the crime statistics, which they were talking about yesterday, really heavily. With crime, the numbers are always there. So, for example, if a normal amount of violent crime for the area is around 20 per 1,000 people, so 20 violent crimes per 1,000 people, that 20 will be a constant in this scenario. However, if you increase the 1,000 to 1,500 people for the population, the percentage will decrease, making it appear that the crime rate is dropping. And not that violent crime is normal. I'm just saying, what is normal, a normal rate for the city. Okay. I'm not calling violent crime normal in any way because it's not. Right. So in this scenario, the 20 violent crimes per 1,000 would equate to approximately 2%. So if we keep the 20 as the constant for violent crime, but raise the population to 1,500, which they're doing, right? The percentage would actually drop to around 1.3%. Okay. Now this is a small number. All right. I used a small number on purpose because when you get up into the bigger numbers, there's more of a decrease. All right. So when they're talking about statistics, they need to ask if the crime actually went away or dropped before the increase of the population. If not, they have purposely skewed the numbers to favor their talking point. And so there was somebody that actually responded to this. Right here. So somebody responded, in reply to this, it also changes when you change the levels at which you prosecute the crimes, which is absolutely 100% true and what they're charged with. Misdemeanor versus felony. This is what happened in Denver. And also, if you don't prosecute said misdemeanors, there's technically no crime, which is also what Denver has done. So I'm not the only one that caught on to it, right? I'm not the only one. That was, like I said, it was a recurring theme throughout yesterday's hearing. So it's not one thing or the other. I just want to point out the inconsistencies that they were trying to make normal in this hearing. And if you listen to, what was his name? Beyer had this big, huge stack of papers, called them studies, but who were the studies from? Nobody knows. What were the statistics of the study? Nobody knows. And when he said, oh, it is perfectly safe to have immigrants, right? He would never use the word illegal, right? Which I found interesting. In fact, the number of crime is worse for Americans committing crimes than what it is immigrants, is what he said, right? Almost verbatim at every point. Then he gets lobbed these softball questions from the Democrats, which he was a freaking Democrat anyway. You could tell by his answers, right? He wasn't presenting real facts. The facts that he was presenting were the facts as he saw them and not based on whatever, on the actual truth. So, I mean, it's just really interesting, about the different things. So, I just wanted to kind of not make light, but present that, because when people see that, they see what a shit show everything has become, they don't. They don't present the facts as they are, which is just facts from a 40,000 foot view, right? they present them to bring forth a narrative, a false narrative at that, to make the people believe bullshit. And when I talked to Hawk about it yesterday, he said, yes, and that is absolutely right. And he said, and also, you also have to remember that Joe Biden had told these people not to report some of the crimes, which is what, you know, the one guy was saying. So it's one of those things that the statistics are skewed. They're skewed. So, and then we have Tom Homan here. This is fantastic. So Libs at TikTok put out, Tom Homan is on fire for the congressman who keeps saying they, the illegals, commit less crime than Americans. Who cares? Every crime committed, every child raped, every public official or public safety threat could have been prevented because they're not supposed to be here. So, and he, pretty good freaking point. And I also want to point out, when they crossed the border illegally, they committed a felony. I'm just saying.
Being raped, less children are drowning.
So let's go ahead.
For the congressman keeps saying they commit less crime than Americans, who cares? Every crime committed by an illegal alien, every child raped by an illegal alien, every public safety threat by an illegal alien could have been prevented because they're not supposed to be here. It doesn't matter who does more. These are preventable crimes if we secure the border. And the border is more secure now than it ever has been, because I'm working with the greatest president in my lifetime who has illegal immigration down 97%. He did that in 3 weeks. President Biden could have done it. He couldn't do it in 4 years. President done it in 3 weeks. We got a safer border. Because we got a safer border, 97% less people are coming. Less women are being raped. Less children are drowning in the river. Less Americans dying from fentanyl overdoses. Less sex trafficking of women and children. President Trump's saving lives, and they can't stand it because it's a political difference. It's not a realistic difference. It's about saving lives. That's what this country's about. Support law enforcement. Why is law enforcement all of a sudden, Tom Homan, we're the bad guys who we enforce the law, but the ones who break the law, the ones that rape children, they're the victims? Give me a break. And you know what? I'll wear this as a badge of honor. If I get and live in their heads rent-free every day, that's kind of cool, and I'm loving it, and I'm coming.
Well, Tom, everyone has to know, this is how you relax. Like, this is... This is your most relaxed, okay? Well, right now at this moment, because you're doing your job. You're a man on a mission. Tom, as always, thank you very much.
So, yeah, you know, Tom Homan brings up a pretty good point. He always does. I mean, he's the one that got onto AOC in the hearing a few years ago. Let's see. If you ever want to get more followers on Rumble, let me know, because I'm starting to help people with less followers so they can get the message out there. Yes, angry conservative, that would be fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic. I thank you for coming in, because, like you said, the message needs to get out there. And so, yes, it's fantastic. I'm thrilled to have you in the chat. Thank you. So let's go back here. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to start talking about the Constitution a little bit. Well, Harry Hageman is. It's one of those things that people need to know, and we've known for a long time that these politicians and judges and, you know, the last installation of a so-called president, he was installed like a frickin' toilet, for God's sake. They've been breaking the Constitution and constitutional law at every turn. And Harry Hageman, you know, calls that out as far as the judges go. I think it's like a 2 or 3 minute video, but I mean, she lays a lot of facts down that can't be refuted. So it's one of those things that we probably ought to listen to it. And all that stuff. Oh, and before I forget, there was a congressman out of Texas that died yesterday. His name was, let me pull it up here. Sylvester Turner. He was 70, out of Texas. He died. So I'm going to drop this in the chat for everybody. And yeah, before I forget, I wanted to share that with everybody. So let me go ahead and drop that in here. And Bonnie's, I welcome in. I heard about your loss. I am so sorry. Words can't express my condolences for you. I'm truly saddened. Thank you for being here. It means a lot. So, but yeah. So let me pull up this Harry Hageman thing here. So Harry Hageman says, Article 2 of the Constitution states that the executive power shall be vested in POTUS, so the President of the United States. No court may take over that rule. No court may define or limit the scope of the duties with an official within the executive office of the President. All right, who's the Fed lurker? So, Mystical Moms, welcome in. I think this is one of the first times you've been in here. You may have been in here before, and I just probably forgot. Well, saying that you have a wrench, you've been in here before. But welcome in. Welcome in, nevertheless. So let's go ahead and play this so that way everybody can see it.
Thank you. Article 2 of the Constitution states that the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. In other words, it is the president that defines the executive branch. When you read this language, it says that no court may take over that role. No court may define or limit the scope of the duties of an official of the executive office of the president, the people who work in the executive office. I think that what your amendment does is a violation of separation of powers, and it's a violation of Article 2 of the Constitution.
The gentlelady yield.
Yes, I will.
It's always good when the constitutionalist specialist comes in. It helps us all. So what you're saying is that the bill codifies Article 2 of the, for purposes of the court being reminded and instructed of their limitations, and the amendment would undo that.
That's exactly right, because then it would imply that a federal court could in fact define or limit the scope of the duties of those individuals who work within the executive office of the president, and that is not a federal court's role. That is for, under Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, that power is vested in a president of the United States of America.
Could the gentlelady further yield for another question?
Yes.
Your understanding is, with the current president or the last one or the next one, if we don't do something like this, realistically, the chief executive, president, would continue to have to answer a myriad of claims in up to not just 50 states, but multiple places in 50 states. And if that tactic was used, even more so than it may have been used in the past, that you would have a president having to use non-official funds to answer a series of cases alleged not to be that way. Is that true?
That's the way that I read this, and I think that it's very clear, especially starting in 2017 when President Trump was sworn in the first time, that the courts have been used for nefarious purposes on a variety of issues. In fact, yesterday we had a hearing in our constitutional subcommittee about lawfare and how lawfare had been weaponized against President Trump, both while he was president as well as after his presidency. So again, I guess that I'm very skeptical of the idea that people are not willing to use lawfare to go after a current or former president. We've seen it over the last 9 years in many different instances. But the president is the one who gets to define the limit and scope of the duties of the personnel within his office. That is very clear from Article 2 of the Constitution.
Just to make it clear, she's exactly right. The judicial, no branch can step on the other and take their power without due process. And I say that because, for instance, Congress, right, has the power to impeach the president, and then there has to be a hearing to which they can either find the president, I'm using this as an example, guilty, and it has to be by 2/3, to which if they find him guilty by 2/3, he is then stripped of his power and he can no longer obtain any kind of political office. So there's that. But the president can't take the power out of Congress's hands either. And the judicial branch, the only power they have is to rule whether something is constitutional or not, and basically tell them, hey, you can't do this because it's against the Constitution, and they can strike down the laws. And they can also do that with executive orders. But in this particular instance, the Supreme Court and, well, federal court in general is overstepping by saying, hey, we're not going to allow you to take care of your executive branch. You can't do that. We're not going to let you. And that's exactly what's been happening. So, and then just like yesterday's vote, there was a 5-4 vote in the Supreme Court with what was it, $2 billion or something like that has to get released back to USAID. So that's just an example. And if you notice, all the ones that voted in favor of restoring that money are the ones that we know are somehow compromised. So there was John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, Jackson, the one that couldn't define what a woman was because she wasn't a biologist, and Sotomayor. And I think there was another one too, Elena Kagan. So it's one of those things. And that, I don't know if it's that they got to her. Okay. I want to keep everybody in mind of something. Her voting record has been piss poor since she was put in that position. Okay. She came out of Valparaiso University, which Valparaiso itself is a highly left-leaning city. All right. And she was also an adjunct professor at Notre Dame, which Notre Dame is, once again, a highly left institution. And in the heart of a far left city of South Bend, which, by the way, is where Pete Buttigieg is from. So I just want you to keep that in mind. She has been, I believe she has been compromised since day one, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, yes, she has voted in some ways to support some of the things going on, but in most cases she has really just been a staunch leftist. So, John Dunning, let's see here. Where do we draw the line between necessary authority and the encroachment on individual freedoms? And that is a very good question, because even though, how do I want to say this? Even though our individual freedoms are always guaranteed and inalienable, according to the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and biblically, right? There are still certain things we can't do. We can't go out there and kill somebody. For instance, we can't go out there and start stealing other people's shit. But that's a pretty good question, Where do we draw the line between necessary authority and the encroachment on individual freedom? Because it seems like one will always be in conflict with the other, doesn't it? One will always be in conflict with the other, because you're always going to have somebody saying, "Hey, you're violating my right." So I just, that's a good question. That's a really good question. And Bonnie, that's a pretty good answer. Authority is only necessary when there has been harm to another. I'd say that's pretty accurate. So I'm going to pull up one more thing here. Maybe. Let's see. And yeah, I think we're good. So this is what I was talking about with the 5-4 decision. Breaking, the Supreme Court on Wednesday narrowly ruled in 5-4 decision that the Trump administration must comply with a district order and pay out nearly $2 billion in foreign assistance funds to nonprofit groups. So that's what I was saying. There is one other thing for those of you that live in Indiana. God dang it, that's not what I wanted. I had received a card in the mail from my state senator. It was a survey card about raising the taxes or instituting a new tax. Okay. And I called and I just kind of went off. And let's see here. So, and this is what I had said, because they're wanting to raise the gas tax here. And that was one of the options on the card, raise the gas tax or whatever. I didn't even fill out the stupid survey. I don't think. I may have, I was pretty aggravated, so I may just not remember. So, one of them was raising the gas tax. Another one was increasing the BMV tax and, or instituting a new tax. There's like 4 or 5 options, right? And Who's Your Mama had said the god-awful gas tax goes up every single year. We're supposed to pay to improve roads. All I see that has been accomplished is 69 to B-Town finished in 465, but 465 is in Indy is always under construction, which it is. It really is. Oh my God. So I said, it's funny that you mentioned that. I got a survey card in a little over a month ago about taxes. And that was one of the options, to raise the gas tax. Overall, the point of the card was to either raise a current tax or institute a new one. When I called my state senator's office, I got no answer, but I told them, there should be in a voicemail, that raising taxes is a lazy solution to a bigger problem of spending. I told them to cut spending and make use of the already many taxes that we have instead of forcing a different or higher tax on the people. I have yet to receive a response from my state senator's office regarding my message. And that was over a month ago. I just want you to let that be known. So I think that is going to do it for today. I'm going to drop the link and maybe we can have a quick chat, about a few things. I'm going to drop this link in the chat here. Let's see. And I'm going to drop it over here on the X side. Oh, come on. I'm going to. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. And I'm going to go over to Rumble and drop it there. So bear with me here. I'm trying to get this done. Oh, let's see here. All right. Come on. Where you at? All right, here we go. All right. So if anybody would like to come up for a minute and have a quick chat that, further on the conversation, about what I've done today, as far as news wise, or even things that you feel like John Dunning had put in there. We can do that. It's not a big deal. So, Pappy Two Bears, you will most likely never get anything other than a form letter response when you contact your elected representative from local to federal levels, all out of touch with the public. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I did receive something from my my state representative, Ethan Manning. For those of you that have been following me for a while, a few years ago, I had written legislation so that way we could hold our elected officials accountable in between election cycles without having to impeach or wait for the next election cycle. If something was just on this side of legal to where we couldn't impeach them, but we could have them removed. So he sent me a letter and a handwritten note that said, regarding a removal of elected officials who aren't doing their job, check out HB 1197. We passed that bill a couple of weeks ago, and it might address your concerns. And I read it, and it actually was everything that I was wanting. So there's that. So, Mystical Moms, good to see you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
What's on your mind?
Oh, nothing. I just love your show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
When you're talking, I have all these things going on in my head that I know that I would love to tell you, and then you put me on the spot. I don't know what to say now.
It happens. It happens. Bonnie, welcome in. Good to see you.
Hi, Samantha.
Good to see you.
How are you doing? It's good to see you.
I'm doing.
So John may disagree with me, but we talk a lot. He gets it. As by the Constitution, it is supposed to be the people, we the people, and the judicial system is supposed to be the grand jury made up by the people. What happened is the judicial system is under the bar, which is under the crown. So is Washington, D.C., and so is Disney, of all places. So that's where things got messed up, was the power was transferred to the government to make up any rule they want to, decide any laws that they want to. It was not meant to be that way when the government was set up. It was meant to, each state would run their state, because each area is so different. We all have different issues. We all have different things going on. And so that's where the representatives were to take any grievances or opinions to the president as to, like, in foreign trade, wars, anything like that, is my understanding. And we got off track.
Yes, that is true. And the other thing, and that's why we have our federal representation also, because our representation that comes from, the federal side of things, that's what they're there for. So that way we can take our grievances to them. And whereas it may not get to the president, at least it gives us a voice in one of the houses. I don't think it should be that way. I think if we have a grievance, like you said, it should be able to get to the person in charge, because ultimately,
yeah,
in your state, in your case, I think it's Texas, right?
Yes.
It would be nice for you to be able to reach out to your governor's office, for instance, and say, hey, something's jacked up. You need to fix it. This is what's going on. At the very least, I want an investigation.
Absolutely. And we can do that. We can, you can go with notices and affidavits, or you can use bonds. There's a group of scientists and doctors right now that, it's more people than that. It's a whole, and they're from other countries. They are suing the United States for, oh my goodness, what is it? I just went blank. I am so sorry.
But you're fine. It happens to me all the time.
Anyway, they're suing our government, and I was like, wait, why are they suing the United States for these crimes that they are saying have been committed? Well, digging deeper into it, the United States is involved in a whole lot of things. And that's where I think we're in really big trouble, is that we are part of the United States. And we need to correct these things as soon as we can. And I don't think we've seen how voting is. We've seen it, every 4 years, it's going to change. It doesn't matter who's up there. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but I'm just saying that it's going to take the people of the country to get things right. One man cannot do it. I know that he's doing things but are they to our benefit in the end game? I don't know. I don't know what, I just try to look at all of it and make a conclusion, but it's not looking good right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying we're doomed. I'm not saying that it's the end of the world. We still have a chance if the people will take a stand.
And, I was talking to my aunt about this very thing a couple days ago. My cool aunt out of North Carolina. She said she was worried about everything going on with Donald Trump, and she supports him, right? And I said, yeah, I get that. I said, but I kind of asked myself, with everything that he's doing, is it more of a thing to make people realize what's been going on and make the people hold their representatives accountable? And I think that's what's been going on. Like with the Doge team, for instance, people having to return to work. I think it was more of a people in government had become complacent, and this was kind of the slap that they needed to kind of wake them up.
I agree.
So I said I had an announcement. I'm glad you guys are up on the panel with me. It's fantastic. So I have been tossed around the idea of running for U.S. Senate.
Awesome.
And I've made a decision. I'm waiting on a couple of things to get done before I make the official announcement. But I can say I'm slowly moving things into place for that to happen.
And that's at the federal level.
That is at the federal level.
Wow. That's a big undertaking.
It really is. But we need a change. We need somebody that's going to be in there to actually be a voice of the people and not a talking head for PACs.
Yes. I wish you luck. We'll be praying for you for sure.
I appreciate it.
Exactly.
Because this guy that I'm going to be running against, he ain't too good. And he's a Republican guy, but he's taking dirty PAC money.
Yeah.
So,
many have. I don't even look at it as parties. It's just one conglomeration of people trying to have more power and more money. The majority.
yeah, absolutely. It's, one of the things I want to get back to is when I come back to districts, actually holding those town hall meetings at every district to see what needs to be done on the federal level, what needs to be done on the state level, county level, city level, whatever.
Yes.
So, and that's what I want to do.
And each person, it doesn't have to be the federal government. Just look in your area. Look at your city council, what they're doing. Look at even go to your city website or your county website and look at it, because they'll have a 5-year plan of how they want to grow. It's usually growth. You'll see maps of what they are planning for the future. If it involves your property, if it involves your well-being in any way, that's where you say, hold up, wait a minute. I see this coming and this is not acceptable. We can do that. We can do that locally. We can do that with our state even. And there's things that I'm working on right now. Texas, we can do a lot of things that a lot of other people can't, but at the same time, there's still eminent domain. There's still, I got a letter, and I'm in a, it's not a really big county. It's big in land, but not in population. And I got a letter that they're fixing to rezone, and they were saying, how did they put it? That this decision could affect how you are able to use your property. Well, that threw up a red flag really quick. And I went to that city council meeting, and I'm still working on that one. It wasn't an instant thing. They did have a lot of people stand up when they sent that out. But that's a state requirement that they word it that way. So then that makes it a state level issue also.
Yeah. And, you guys talked about eminent domain. I can remember when I was going through my constitutional law classes at Marietta College. Eminent domain was one of the topics we had to cover. And there was a case, it was down there in Florida, about a Navy yard, a decommissioned Navy yard. And somebody had wanted to buy it, if I remember right. And they bought it. And then the federal government said, nope, we want it back. And the person said, no, I bought it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, they ended up having to use eminent domain, and the federal court system sided with the federal government. Big surprise. Saying that the person had to relinquish that property back to the federal government. And it's eminent domain is basically a weasel's way for the government to not have to pay for the property. So.
Yep. And that's right. They don't have to pay you a penny. They can decide to put a train track or a highway or whatever right through your property.
Yep. And I think eminent domain needs to completely go away because it violates your due process.
Yes.
Because the government is required by the Constitution to pay you for anything that they take from you.
But see, anything they take from you. So it's still using money. It's like a bribe.
It really is.
Yes. And so that's where we need to, if you are paying for your property, and what the average is 30 years, right? You're working 30 years to pay for this property and doing what you can to make it better or make it functional for you and your family. How can anyone think that they can take it? That's theft. It's just plain and simple theft. But at the same time, I think even in the Constitution, it says something about no one owns the land. It's God's land. And that's where a lot of the Constitution, the laws are the laws that are given in the Bible. I think where we have really fallen as a country is the morals and values.
I do not disagree.
I can remember when a handshake was your word, and you stuck to it or you were shunned. It was somehow we've lost that.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, handshake agreements used to be enforceable in courts.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you've learned the legal part of it through the bar. Is that correct?
No, no. Mine was. I've done a lot of my own studies, but I also took constitutional law in college.
Oh, okay, good.
And a lot of it is stuff that I've read up on myself and studied the different laws and the different court cases and stuff like that came about. So and that was another part of my constitutional law class was the court cases involved that involved constitutional law. And it, when you start looking at this stuff and you're like, what? You're like, why? Why are they doing this? And we've gotten away from the common law system, which we need to get back to.
Yes.
And we've become more of an admiralty / seafaring law than common law. And I think D-Dog has talked at great length about that.
He has.
So,
and Sean Stryker and Dee, we're all talking about it, and I'm trying to learn right now the how the grand jury works, because we have states that have built an assembly, Alaska, Michigan, and so they're common law states. And so when something's not right, they'll go and they say, wait a minute, we're not going to allow this. And they can actually clear out a whole office, like a city council or whatever, and say, nope, you're not getting it, you're fired. And that's the way it should be. If you have people that are representing you that you have voted for, then you have the power to fire them. You have put them in that position and you can take them out.
yes. And I ran into that when I was having problems with my kids' old school. I had actually filed a complaint with the Indiana Department of Education. And they said, we cannot do anything. We can't take their teaching license. We can't do this. We can't do that because they have not broken any laws. And I said, you mean to tell me that even though they haven't broken any laws, they're not doing their job as a teacher and they're skewing the information that they're giving the kids and giving them bad information, you won't do anything about it? Nope. I said, so what is the point of having a Department of Education if you're not going to enforce the laws, if you're not going to enforce the rules of the teaching license?
Yes. A lot of people are concerned about that being dismantled at the federal level. Well, okay, wherever you live, you're paying taxes. Probably about 80% of those taxes are for school. So if the school cannot function on all the money that they receive in taxes, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I can't believe that some of these school administrators are over $300K a year.
Yes. And that's where you go to the school board meetings. And I know it.
Who's going to do that, though? I mean, people that are actually paying for all this stuff are too busy working and paying for all this stuff. That's how they get under you. That's how they get under all of us. They charge us all these.
And that's where I can see more women stepping up and taking these roles because the men are out working.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they want to say, what is a man? Or what is a woman? I mean, look at all this deflection that's going on. It's just insane. I'm seeing more and more of what I don't see in real life online. They want to normalize this. It's just insane. We have got to figure out a way to say, hey, this is enough, man. This is not real life. And the further that we get into this cyber life, the further that we get away from real life. I don't see anybody like this in my life. Maybe I'm pretty small. It doesn't matter. Don't feed me all this crap. I don't want to see it. I click it off quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing is a lot of people have become oblivious to what's been going on in schools. My kids are old school. Here's a good example of that. I wasn't oblivious to what went on there. And at every turn, I was up their ass to, hey, why are you doing this? Why? It got to the point where the principal and assistant principal, when I would walk into the building and they were in the office, they would walk the other direction because they didn't want to deal with me. The superintendent was the same way. My wife had actually filed a complaint with, well, it wasn't really a complaint. She reported to a news station and tagged the superintendent, every member of the school board, the principal and vice principal about emails that were getting passed around to the students from organizations that were gay and lesbian organizations, right? Which I have no problem with. Don't get me wrong, right?
No, that's not
People
okay.
aren't searching for that though.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It was in the school's email system and it was being disseminated through the school, right? And you know, when you're of age, you can do whatever you want. Don't push that crap on my kids.
If you go by the government statistics, why in the world would you have like 0.3% of the population, like you're saying, in the forefront? Like, why should that be like blasted over top of like us real people?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
You're over the whole thing that drives me crazy is the over representation. I seen last night, and I'm sure that many of you guys have also, there's a Muslim problem over in the Ukraine or UK, over in Britain. I don't know. And they're putting out commercials about sexual harassment, and it's all white guys, red hair. I got red hair. I'm a redhead white. I've never sexually harassed a woman. I'm like, why are these? Who are these people? I need to know. I want to know. These are the people that they're evil. They're in like. I will jump right down into where Al Green, I thought he was a rapper or something. Al Green, I thought that was a 60s Al Green. I love Al Green. No, this guy's down in there boycotting this is all nuts. It's crazy. I can't believe that. It really bothers me that people aren't standing up and like saying, we are literally leaving all of our morals out to whoever is representing us in Washington. They're not representatives. They hate us, dude.
it's up to us as parents and as members of society to instill morals and a sense of being, a sense of responsibility into our children. Because if we're not doing that, we're failing them as parents.
You're 100% right.
Yep.
And the fact that, like I was bringing up about the school, my wife tagged all of those people, right?
Yes.
The following morning, I'm getting a phone call from the superintendent. Why did you do this? First of all, I don't have Facebook. I didn't do it. My wife did that. And then they call my daughter to the office, right, to find out why I did it. And she said, my dad don't even have Facebook.
Did what?
Tagged all those people.
What do you mean tag? I don't even know what that means.
Huh?
I don't even know what that means. I'm
What,
so
tag?
gifted.
Tag
I
is
have
where
no idea what that means.
But
Does that mean that it comes up on their feed or something?
it does.
All
It
the,
pops up directly on their feed.
At someone's name,
Okay.
and then it
I'm
highlights
smart
it.
enough to figure it out,
But and so
That's
I was
terrible.
getting blamed. Oh, speaking of which, I gotta get going here, folks. I got a phone call.
Oh no.
Okay, Slow Country, thank you for having me.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hey,
Good
thank
luck.
you. Slow Country, you rock. Come
All right.
back up soon, man. It's been a while. Bye.
Will do. Bye. Hello. I am so sorry.